Jonathan and Michelle Diamantis. Did I pronounce that name correctly?
Diamantis, yes.
Diamantis, okay, great. You must be Jonathan?
Yes, I am.
You're certainly not Michelle.
Christian, my brother.
Christian, your brother, okay. Your big brother, I think. Yeah, okay. I'm fine, thank you very much. The application is dated August 9, 2019, and the applicants are seeking a special permit under Section 4 of the bylaw dealing with non-conforming uses of land. And they're suggesting that the proposed changes are not more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. So the applicants here want to build a couple of additions to the rear of the existing residence. At 24 Chesterfield Road, the house was built in 1938 before zoning, and therefore it's considered dimensionally pre-existing non-conforming as to lot area, side, and rear setbacks, which is not an unusual event here in Milton, where we have a lot of small lots and old houses. The property's in a Residence C district, and the plot plan shows the addition to be built at 8.1 feet from the right side lot line, 10 feet from the left side lot line, when under the current bylaw, 10 feet is required, and the addition is located approximately 26.4 inches from the closest point in the rear lot line when under the average depth formula of the bylaw, which is very confusing, at least to me. They're supposed to be 28 feet from the bylaw. My name is John Leonard. I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals. With me tonight, to my immediate left is board member Nicholas Gray, and to my immediate right is board member Jeffrey Mullen. We have here as evidence at the hearing, and I've summarized the advertisement, we have the application, which is dated 8/9/19. We have a denial letter by Mr. Prondak, our building commissioner, dated August 8th, 2019. We have a plot plan of the property dated July 26, 2019 by Arthur F. Borden, a professional land surveyor. We have a series of plans from Blackbird Architecture. They're located somewhere, let's see. Well, I made them say somewhere. Do you know where they're located? Where's Blackbird?
Walpole.
Walpole. Okay, great. And we have maybe 12 or 13 plans showing the proposed additions from every conceivable angle and side. So we thank the applicant for submitting all of these materials. We also have received 3 pieces of correspondence. One is from Jessica McGrath of 1102 Brook Road. It's undated, and Ms. McGrath says she's received the notice of the hearing, that she is writing without hesitation to fully support the proposal going forward. And if there's anything else we need, we can give her a call. So thank you to Martin and Jessica McGrath. We have a letter from Catherine Reddington of 33 Chesterfield Road, in Milton, August 21st, 2019. She's writing in respect to this request. She's been a resident of Chesterfield Road for over 30 years, and she is a direct abutter to the subject property. She'd like to formally state that she's in fully favor of their desires to move forward with their construction as planned. And I think that also means that she's supporting the variance. And she's hopeful that they will remain in the neighborhood for many years to come, and she feels that their addition will be added value to the neighborhood. So we thank Ms. Reddington for her note. And we have a letter from Patricia Beecroft of 18 Chesterfield Road. It's undated. She's writing in regarding the application, which directly abuts her property. I understand they're going before the board for approval of an addition that they'd like to add to their house. She'd like to convey to the board and her family that she supports their wishes, and she's hopeful that the variances are granted and the project can move forward with construction at their convenience. And if we have questions, she leaves her phone number so we can call her. So we thank all of these people for submitting this. Let me briefly tell you what the rules of the board are for this application and for the others. We'll hear from the applicants. We'll hear from people who have questions of the applicant. We'll hear from people who wish to speak in support of the application. We'll hear from people who wish to speak in opposition to the application. The proceedings are being tape recorded by Ms. Sutton. And that's the official record of this transcription of this record. We'd ask that when anyone speaks, speak into the microphones. If you're not a direct applicant here and you're going to just testify, we can swing the microphone over to you. The microphones do not project. All they do is convey sound to the recording folks in the back of the room. We'd ask that anyone who speaks, before they speak, tell us your name, your address, so we'll have a record as to who is speaking. And we'd ask that everyone speak up nice and clear and loud. We don't have a lot of people here tonight, but you're always talking away from the audience, and we want to make sure everyone hears what's being presented. So with that as a kind of formal ado, Mr. Diamantis and Brother Diamantis, do you want to come up here and tell us what this application is all about and why the board should grant the relief that's requested?
Sure. Jonathan Diamantis, 24 Chesterfield Road. My wife and I are interested in doing this addition. We love the town and the neighborhood, and we just would like a little more space as our family continues to grow, and we think that would help us stay at Chesterfield Road for a long time.
Why don't you briefly just tell us your family? It consists of you.
My wife, Michelle, and I, and my son, Nico, who will turn 2 in November, and my daughter, Ava, who will turn 3 in October.
Great. And do you want to briefly describe what the project is all about?
Sure. So he's going to elaborate on it, but over the garage, we're adding a master bathroom and walk-in closet for a little more space for my wife and I. And off the back of the house, over a flat roof, we're adding a third bedroom / office. Okay.
And is the outside of the residence, when it's finished, is it going to be consistent with the current color schemes and
Yes.
the architecture of the house and all of that? Okay. And other than the 3 people here who have taken the time and trouble to submit letters in support of your application, have you had the chance to talk to other neighbors and
Yes, we've
other
spoken to
abutters?
most of our neighbors who are in favor and excited about us moving along with it.
Okay, great. Nobody expressed any reservations about your...
No, not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, great. Do you want to describe the project in a little more detail for us?
Sure. Based Christian Diamandis, Brookside Construction, 770 Dedham Street, Canton, Mass. Basically, the master bedroom is going to have a new master bathroom / closet that's going to be directly over the garage. We're not expanding the footprint. The ridge height is actually going to be lower than the existing ridge height. And the guest bedroom / study, if you will, is over an existing family room. Same type of situation. It's right at the ridge height. It doesn't exceed it. And basically, it's going to have the same look as the rest of the house. We're not going to change anything. Same windows, same ROs, and pretty much it.
Okay. Let me just ask you this for the sake of the record. We have the plans from Blackbird Architecture, and is it fair to say that your project is going to be, to the best of your ability, constructed in substantial conformance with these plans?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how old is the house? The house is very old, isn't it?
1938, I believe it was built, yeah.
So you know if you run into difficulties when you open the place up to do this work and you need to tweak or make additions to the plans, you've got to check with our building
Absolutely.
inspector, Mr. Prondak.
Amend any plan and-
He'll tell you whether you need an amendment to the variance or
Sure.
not. And okay, great. Do you have anything else you'd like to add in support of the application?
Other than we have structural engineers that we updated plans and we will build to spec for
Okay.
those as
Yeah,
well,
we-
as far as,
We don't need those, and frankly, we probably wouldn't understand them anyway. Okay, great. Let's see if my colleagues have any questions. Mr. Gray, do you have any questions regarding
Not at
this
this time, I don't think so.
Mr. Jeffrey Mullen is studying these plans intensely, so do you have any questions, Mr. Mullen?
So it's 3 bedrooms now. You're adding a 4th bedroom.
Yes.
That's in the back, so you're popping out a dormer in the back.
Correct.
And then the dormer that's over the garage, that's going to be a new bathroom
Yes.
for the master?
Yes.
And so there's like a sitting area, a closet, and then a bathroom, front to back. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
Okay, well, I don't have any
Further questions?
further questions. Thank you, Mr. Mullen. I don't
I'm
have...
sorry, what was the name of your company?
Brookside Construction.
Outside. And where are you located?
Canton.
You're going to do this work?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so, too. I think he drives a hard bargain. Did you give him a good deal?
Get the
My
numbers
wife
down.
made me, so.
Oh, your wife made you. We hear that a lot of this, so. But thank you very much. I don't have any further questions at this time. Is there anybody present in the audience this evening who has any questions regarding this application? And there is no such person present. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak in support of the application, in addition to the letters that we've received? Okay, and there's nobody, no such person present. We'll ask the important question. Is there anybody present who wants to speak in opposition to these application for variances? There's nobody there. Okay, so if you have nothing further to add, gentlemen, you have no further questions?
No.
Okay, we'll call to an end the evidence portion of this hearing and discuss the hearing in open session and vote on it here and now. I should ask you one question, though, beforehand, and it's really not it's a procedural question. Number one, when would you like to start this application? If you get your relief, when do you want to start construction?
Immediately.
Yeah, that's what I think. You're ready out in the street, ready to go, huh? Okay. And how long would the construction project take if it proceeds in the usual course?
We should have it closed in 2 months, pending on inspections, and then we'll do the inside work for maybe another month.
Okay. Okay, let's see how the application goes. And so, Mr. Gray, do you want to speak first?
Sure. I think it's a very well presented project, very nicely laid out with details, and it seems to me that it's of a piece with other projects of a similar nature that we have routinely granted relief for, especially where we have support of the neighbors. It's clear that the addition is going to be kind of within the scale and scope of the neighborhood and the dwelling. I think it's likely to add to the value of the neighborhood and the dwelling and not detract from the area. I would tend to vote in favor of it.
Okay, Mr. Jeffrey.
I
Mullen,
agree.
please.
I specifically note that the change is not more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists, which is the standard we've been working on, these special permits. But I like the applications. Good design, very clever. Like it.
Okay, great. Well, my view is, I thought the application was very well presented. It's presented thoroughly and yet quickly and directly. I think the plans look great. I'm not as skilled reading plans as Mr. Mullen is, but he...
Just move it on.
So I really take his opinions, I give a lot of weight to his opinions, as he knows well. But I do think, we see this every day of the week in Milton with 5,000 square foot lots and relatively modest houses and growing families. Fortunately, this lot seems to have good shape to it. Now, some of them are like bowling alleys and really create all kinds of problems. So I think as Mr. Mullen said and Mr. Gray said, this certainly is, it's not a detriment to the neighborhood. It's a very important improvement to the neighborhood because these older houses, it's important that they be improved on a regular basis. And there's a pressing need for it with your growing family. And so I intend to vote for this application with the usual conditions. And let me just briefly run through those. The usual conditions are that you're going to build in substantial compliance with the plans. And that the house is going to be, when it's finished off, will be consistent with the color scheme that presently exists there. And One thing I should mention is that even though we vote the variance tonight, we still have to write a decision.
Right.
And we don't cut and paste our decisions. So it's probably going to take a week or 10 days, maybe a little longer to get it done. It then gets filed with the town clerk, and there's still a 20-day appeal period, as you know, before you can pull a building permit. If somehow you're going to do some pre-construction planning, demolition, you do it at your risk, and you do it through the aegis of Mr. Prondak, the building inspector, who controls all of that stuff. So all those in favor of granting the variance applications with the usual conditions, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, congratulations on your
thank you.
variances.
Thank you very
additions. It looks exciting, and good luck, and you have a delay clause in your contract here?
I should, yeah. Got to read it again.
Yeah, read it again closely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
That's great.
Yep.
I got it.
Thank this out. Okay, great. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Right.
That's great.
You already started writing most of it right there?
Yes, right. Well, you know, we have this nice form now for these special permits.
Oh, we do?
I should send it to you.
Send it to me, would you?
Been a bunch of them,
Okay.
and they
Is
really
everyone
help.
hugs, too, before the evening is over?
He's very good,
Oh, okay.
very good.
Ted did one,
Okay,
citing the cases. There's 2 SJC cases.
okay.
Right on
Shoot it
point.
over when you get a chance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Been a lot of activity in this space.
There has been.
Yeah.
I know.
So Jeff, you're taking that?
Yeah. Get this.
Did you write that down?
Yeah.
I
Get
heard
it.
what the chairman said.
Thank you.
I said
Jeff,
with a question.
Can you kick that second one down? Thank you. Okay, our second hearing is that of applicant Thomas Butler, as an application dated July 9th, 2019, seeking to amend a variance condition number 3, the fence requirement located at 10 Birch Street in Milton. The Board of Appeals on July 28th, 2016, granted a variance with a condition that a fence be constructed along the 2 back lot lines within 45 days of the completion of construction of the house, and it specified the type of fence to be built. And here the applicant is requesting that the fence be relocated in a particular manner along the rear of the rear property line. This property is in a residency district. We have as evidence at this hearing the application, which is dated, well, at least it's stamped to July 9th, 2019. We have a denial letter from Mr. Prondak, our building commissioner, dated May 29th, 2019. We have a plot panel of land showing the property, an existing condition site plan. We have some other materials here coming in as we speak. An application for an amendment of a condition that was before the planning board of the town of Milton. We have a copy of the variance which was granted. I know it was stamped in. Let me see when it was granted. July 28th, 2016. And we've got a series of photographs which the applicant is going to explain to us and how they're relevant and where they show the proposed new fence. So that's the evidence we have at the, thank you very much, we have at the hearing. We have several, we have a letter And we have 2 pages of what I'll call a, well, I guess it's a petition. Let's deal with them one by one. The first is dated September 8th, 2019. This is like a communal letter. I was wondering exactly. This is a communal letter signed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 interested persons and presumably abutters and people of interest. And their letter says that the renovation of this property has been a welcome addition to the neighborhood. The surrounding property has been cleaned up and manicured, eliminating all of the challenges and hazards that came with the overgrowth of weeds and bushes on the property. Erecting the fence along the property line from Lyman Road will provide a safety buffer from the neighboring driveway. The Butler family residing at 10 Birch Street, they have 3 young daughters, as well as a large number of small children from all of the neighborhood that play in the side yard adjacent to Lyman Road. This is an appeal about public safety and buffering children who are playing in the yard, in the neighborhood, in the yard neighboring the driveway, and making the children safe. Please find our names in support of the petition. As is usual, I'm going to have trouble reading these names, but maybe you can help me with them. Looks like Neil, do you know what it is? Niall. Of 25 Ferris? Mathers Road, sure. And Tara, we have Jim O'Donohue of 7 Spencer Street, Billy Stoddard of 55 Dean Road, Marina Stoddard, also of 55 Dean Road, Kathy Bosworth of 19 Mathers Street. Looks like it's Brendan Cook of 19 Mathers Street. Looks like Fred Carr of 19 Mathers Street. John Flaherty of 148 Lyman Road. Maggie Flaherty of the same address. Kelly, I'm going to say it's Grimes.
Yes.
Of 90 Lyman Road. And Rob, well, it has to be Grimes because he's at 90 Lyman Road as well, though it's difficult to read. So we thank the applicant for all of the materials submitted. The rules for this hearing are just going to be just like the last one. So welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Tom Butler. I reside at 10 Birch Street, and I am here to appeal part of the decision that was made on 7/28/2016 regarding case 2498. Back in 2016, I appeared before this board for a number of variances related to the construction of my home at that address. At that time, we appeared before the board with unanimous support from all abutters in neighborhood through signatures and, pretty much the neighborhood as a whole. And following the hearing, we were directed by the board to meet with our direct abutter at Lyman Road about erecting a fence to mitigate our 5-foot walk-off porch. It's a second means of egress. It's by no means a deck. It's a second means of egress. And there was some options that were put on the table, none of them which were ideal, or in my opinion, what the mission of this board what is or was intended to do when we left this hearing. And, we could no longer prolong the situation with the permits financially or time-wise, so we had a decision that was made. And we always intended about putting a fence around the property, but we didn't expect that we would be asked to give up close to 345 square feet of our property or build a fence that, did nothing to protect my children on my property.
Okay, did you go forward with the project and complete the variance?
We went forward with the project, yes, and built the property,
So the only issue now is the fence?
the fence.
Okay.
The planning and building was thoughtful and respectful to our neighbors and our abutters. Like I said, we have 3 small children, and they enjoy playing all types of sports on our property: soccer, football, basketball, and all kinds of games, which draw many kids to that side yard. And my primary reason for being here tonight is the safety of my girls. Avery's 13, Amelia's 6, and Ayla's 4, and the ability to protect them is paramount to me. And that's what this appeal is about, a complete fence that would start on my property line and run 115 feet down the property line and along the backside that was agreed to in the beginning, we feel was enough mitigation for the variance of the 5-foot walk-off porch. We've invested a lot of money into cleaning up the surrounding property, which was not easy, as you can see from those pictures. And we did that because that's what we heard from the neighbors in our initial appeal was, it's not safe, we can't walk on sidewalks, we can't see, there's blind spots.
You want to walk us through the pictures?
Yes, so the first picture you see there is again, we plan on keeping safety as a paramount, so we will step the fence down if granted relief. We will step it down at the driveway, so it's not a blind spot. You will be able to see coming out of the driveway. And then the first pictures is what the growth was on the property prior to 2016. You have Lyman Road and Birch Street on the corner. You have Lyman Road, which a fence had always existed there, and heavy shrubbery, which, you know, that was the main reason why people wanted to see this property come to life, was that section of the property. It was just overgrown and not safe. And as you get through, you have cleared out property, open space where the kids enjoy playing, open space with the abutting driveway, kind of a view of our property from Birch Street looking in with a basketball hoop. And, you know, you can see that when we built our driveway, we put large stones and rocks as a buffer. We put stuff to stop the car at our driveway to make everybody safe. Large rocks. And, you know, so we looked out for the safety of the neighbors and the abutters in the design and planning. We met with almost all of them who voiced, in their opinion, this is our property, we can keep our children safe on our property. And, you know, we ask with extreme urgency that this board take the safety of our young children into a consideration, and please grant us the appeal to fence in our property safely for my children.
Okay, you want an amendment to the condition and the variance, that's what you're looking for.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you two silly questions. Number one, this plan here with the red, that shows where you want to build the fence.
That's where we would build the fence, yes. As it pertains to the variance.
Yes.
You know, the intention is to fence the yard, but that's what the variance calls. So that's, to amend the variance, that is the fence line.
The
Yes.
fence that was specified in the
Yes,
original
correct.
application?
That is correct.
Okay.
No, the fence that's specified stops. That's the amendment. That's the amendment.
This is the amendment,
Yes,
that's what I mean.
that is correct.
And the fence that was specified in the,
Is a half a fence that
where
stops.
does it stop?
I think it's 50 feet in from Lyman Road, or 65 feet in from Lyman Road.
Oh, okay.
So it starts basically a half a fence where I can teach my children not to run in the street, they gotta look both ways, but when they're playing in their yard and chasing a ball, a half a fence doesn't protect my children.
Okay, all right. And this picture, which isn't to specifications, but is that a reasonable facsimile of the fence that you're going to construct or you're proposing to construct?
The scale down, yes. The variance calls for a vinyl-like fence, which we intend to, honor, and that scale down from a 6-foot to a 4-foot, so there's no blind spot, driveways are safe. Yes, that's the
So the
intent.
fence here is a 4-foot fence, and is this a vinyl coated fence? Is
Yeah,
that-
vinyl-like, yes.
Okay, and so that's going to be consistent on the side of your property here?
Yes.
And if you're going to fence the entire place in, are you going to put a different fence?
It would be short, like, I want people to see the yard, we put a lot of work and a lot of money into the yard, it would be a short fence that surrounds the yard, yes.
It would be open, like I'm trying to think of a log fence or something? like
Probably
that?
not log, but it's something that you can see into, yes, a vinyl-like fence, yes.
Okay, but it'll open up the house.
Not panel, it wouldn't be paneled on that side.
Okay, okay. And that's really not before us, because you...
No, that's, I don't need any permission to do that on my property, no.
Okay. Good, let me see if my colleagues have any questions. Mr. Mullen, do you have any questions of the applicant?
When was the work finished?
The work was finished in December of 2017.
What's taking so long to put the fence up?
So the work finished in the winter
Of 2016?
of 2017.
2017?
And so the couple months after that, the ground is frozen or whatever, and then, you know, there were some back and forths on the property line with my abutter of whether he could build stuff on my property, if he could do stuff where it's trash on my property, and it was kind of a back and forth. The property line isn't defined, as you can see in the pictures. There's a garden, there's some plants on my property, there's stuff that jots into my property, so I think in kind of talking to Mr. Prondak after the issue came up, this was the correct way to go, was to, you know, as the inspector saw that, you know, what the agreement was, to go forward and ask for this.
So you were supposed to put this fence up within 45 days of the completion of the work, and you didn't do that?
I didn't do that, no.
Okay.
Based on discussion.
No, that's all I asked. You
Yeah.
didn't do it. So this has been kicking around for a while.
This has been debated, yes, with my abutter, yes, kicking around for a
So it's
little.
really it's an abutter dispute. I'm trying to just, I did not understand a lot of what you said, so I'm just trying to figure out what we're really.
Yeah, so when.
You don't have to yell at me, okay? You're just asking your questions.
Yeah, no, I didn't think I was yelling,
Okay.
You know, we were asked by the board to go back and talk with the neighbor, with our attorney, and at that time, they asked for a 3-foot setback for 115 feet, which was 345 square feet of my property that I pay taxes on, to make their yard larger.
So that's what I don't understand. After the 2016 hearing,
Yes,
which gave you the relief from the zoning that you had been seeking,
yeah,
a condition of which was to build this plan. You signed off on a plan and submitted it to the board, and it was built into the decision.
yes.
What happened? Why didn't that plan get built? I don't understand the further negotiation.
I think that, like I said, a half a fence doesn't protect my children, and we wanted to build a full fence to protect my children, and that yard was severely overgrown. I had to do a ton of work to get that yard to where it was. That work just completed, the landscaping work. As you can see from the overgrowth, it took me a lot of time to clean up that yard,
Just with
and a lot of money.
but you knew that when you were asking for the variance. You knew that work was coming up when you asked for the variance.
I did, yes.
Okay.
And I didn't know when my project was gonna be done, and then after that winter, into that spring, was a whole landscaping cruise with backhoes and everything to clear that side yard out. That thing was a jungle.
I'm just really focused on the fence. I understand it's a half a fence. I understand that you're concerned about the safety of your family. That's fair. I'm focused on the variance.
Yes.
Could we have avoided this hearing by just building the fence that you agreed to build in 2016?
No, I would've had to come forward to complete the fence to make my children safe in my yard.
I don't understand why you need a variance to build a fence, another fence.
I think what Mr. Mullen...
Because the-
No, calm down. What I think Mr. Mullen is saying is if this is the fence that the variance required, okay?
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, because we don't have that plan at the
No, but hopefully we're going to get
Yeah,
more
okay.
specificity.
The language said it had to stop. The language stated that the fence could not start. It had to stop.
refers to a plan that you initialed and that your abutter initialed, so I assume that you had some agreement with respect to
Well,
what it was.
like I said, I was, at the time, we were out of time, and we didn't have the financial resource. I couldn't go into mediation. I just needed to start the project. We were still renting in Milton so our kids could go to school while paying a construction loan and a mortgage. I just needed to start this project, start
I
this
think-
process.
Let me just try to state this simply. I think what Mr. Mullen is suggesting is if the variance required you to build the fence there, okay,
Yes.
and stop, okay? What prevents you from building the fence there, okay?
Yeah.
Then you've met the condition of the board, and then you've still got this portion of your property that you own right over here, and continue the fence along. You don't need a variance to do the fence.
Well,
Complete that portion of the fence, do you? Why would you need a
it said that the fence had to stop. So the fence, the condition of the variance said the fence had to start
Let's-
50 feet in.
Let's get to
I
that.
can't find that.
Doesn't say that.
Why
Where
would
does it
why
say
would it
that?
say that?
So in my impression of discussing with my neighbor, and I probably should have known more, was that I couldn't build the fence there.
Okay,
I'll read it. It says, "The applicant shall construct a fence along the two back lines as shown on the two fence sketch plans on file with the board and initialed by William Ferrari. The fence shall be erected within 45 days of completion of construction of the house and shall be a vinyl fence, typical or similar material, and shown on the initialed sketch plan." This infers that that plan was submitted by you and approved by Mr. Ferrari, who's the abutter. My question is, why didn't it get built?
So if I'm looking for clarification, if I'm here tonight, that I can build that fence, the portion that's,
that's open.
that allows me, and then I'll build the rest of the fence. I just was looking to build a complete fence because of,
So you think you need a variance in order to, no, just stay.
Yeah.
You think you need a variance in order to complete the fence?
yeah,
Okay. But that fence, the completion portion of the fence is all on your property,
yes, that is correct.
not on the neighbor's property.
No, all the fence would be on my property, that
Okay,
is correct.
and the fence, as required by the decision, is on your property as well, is it
That is
not?
correct.
It's not on the property line, it's
On my property,
on
yeah.
your property. And so, are you saying in essence that as a result of all of the discussions about the fence and Mr. Prondak and not getting the fence built and talking with the neighbors and trying to make some type of a deal that makes sense, you thought the best remedy was to come before the board, get an amendment of the variance,
Yes,
and also get the board's permission to build what I'll call the extension on the fence.
yes,
You thought that was a cleaner way of doing
it
it.
was fully vetted with a step down, and
Okay, but you didn't consult, did you consult an attorney about whether you really need the board's?
I didn't, I was just going on my conversation with Town Hall.
Okay, and,
Let me just speak to that for a second.
sure, of course you can.
So on the town hall issue, I mean, the letter says you've just got to comply with the Board of Appeals requirement, and if you don't, they're going to seek compliance through the Southeast Housing Court Criminal Division. So I thought this was an enforcement hearing.
So did I.
No, the appeals,
But I think that's where we could be headed because of the 45-day requirement. I mean, to me, that's really the issue. It's not, I mean, I like the fence, I think that's great, and if you want to build a fence around your property, I think that's fine. That's not really something the Board of Appeals gets involved in. We're really this is about enforcement of the variance.
Well, I
So
know-
if the fence that you're prepared to build is consistent with the variance, even if it's more than what the variance requires, you didn't require a variance to have the fence. The fence was a condition of the variance in exchange for the privacy concerns expressed by Mr. Ferrari. That's the way I read this.
Right, but there may be one additional, or one tweak to that, Jeffrey, if I understand Mr. Butler, and that is if you looked at the plan or the sketches of the fence,
Yeah.
which I don't think we have in front of us here, maybe we do, that was a 6-foot fence. Is that right? And you're proposing to do a 4-foot fence?
6 foot with a step down of 4
Oh.
at the driveway,
Oh, okay,
at
all
the
right.
end of the driveway where
All
the,
right.
so visibility is okay for the cars coming in and out.
I mean, I would say just be consistent with whatever this agreed-upon plan in 2016 is.
And, you know, is that part of the materials here? Because I don't see.
Got to be in the original
I
file.
was in the original, I thought it was in the file that I submitted. When I came to Town Hall, they said that they could include it because I didn't have a copy of it, I'm sorry.
No, it's- Okay, this is the new file rather than the old file. Did you want to look at that?
It might be helpful to have, but maybe we could continue with the hearing while, do you know where it is, Beth?
I'm gonna go look at the old file.
Yeah, okay.
It's all right with me.
I think it would be helpful.
Okay, why don't we do this? let's suspend this hearing for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so. Is that all right with you, Mr. Butler? And we do have a third hearing, and we can do that third hearing and then come back to this one? Does that?
Oh, it's going to take you to get tomorrow.
Oh, okay, then fine. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a recess for 5 minutes, okay? And then we're going to start and continue this hearing and finish it, okay? So it's 8:10 now. We're going to be in recess to 8:15. Thank you. You can stay right there, Mr. Butler. Okay, we're going to come back into session to tell you we don't have the sketch of the fence. Ms. Sutton has the other file. Do you have a sketch? Do you have the sketch of the fence?
I don't. I've been to Joe's office a couple times in the last 6 months, and I don't know what happened to that.
Okay.
I think Joe just had the language that said,
Of the Board of Appeals decision.
however many feet in from Lyman Road.
Yeah.
Can say anything about that.
Anything that was on the fence is
written decision.
There was a style.
Okay, we'll have to get you on tape. Okay, so we don't have a copy of the plan or the sketch that you were using. Do you have a copy at home, you think? Or do you-
I can.
I don't know that we need it, to be frank about it, but,
Yeah, I guess that's right.
okay, so I'm going to report to you, we don't have a copy of the fence sketch, okay? Other than the verbiage that's in the decision. So, do you have anything else you want to add to your application here?
No, I mean, I'm sorry for my excitement. It's just, that it's just, I'm trying to protect my children on my
Don't be
property.
sorry.
and
That's all right.
I'm sorry for the excitement.
Mr. Moe, do you have any other questions? you want?
Nobody's saying you shouldn't protect your children. You got 4 variances here. You built a big addition to your house. I'm just asking about compliance with the variance, that's all. That's the issue.
Yeah.
The other issues aren't issues for the hearing. And what we're trying to do is just boil this down. What we understand now is the written report says that it was going to start at 54.6 feet off of Lyman Road. Now what you're proposing to do is just go all the way to Lyman Road. But it is your testimony that you are still proposing to build a 6-foot-high fence from a point that is 54.6 feet along the back and then fully along the other common property line with the Ferraris.
That is correct.
Okay. So the fence you're proposing to build is consistent with, even though it's bigger than or more extensive than or in different or in additional locations?
Yes, with additional panels with a step down at the
Okay,
end.
fine. Okay. I don't have any questions.
So now I think I get it. It's basically, the whole point of this thing is just, can you build the fence all the way to Lyman Road?
On my
Rather
property
than,
line.
rather than
On my
stopping at
property.
54.6 feet from the end of
That
Lyman?
is correct, sir.
Okay. So, no, I don't have any questions. I mean, I'd like to hear from anyone else that's here, but.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Great. So you can stay right there. And let me ask you, is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this application?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Come on up, grab a seat. You may have to switch the microphone back and forth if you're both going to speak, but
Is it one or?
that's fine.
Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Hi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Bill Ferrari. This is my wife Katie. We live at 58 Lyman Road. We live in the abutting property that is basically here.
I'm sorry, where's the property?
I'm sorry, we're basically right here.
Oh,
This is our
okay,
house. Here, I guess I'd just like to start off by saying 2 things. One, we certainly do not object to Mr. Butler fencing this parcel of his yard in to protect his kids. We have young kids the same age as Tom. We have a 4 and a 2-year-old, and they play here as well. Lyman Road's very busy. This lot kind of spills out to the street. There's a side street here as well. It's very open. We certainly don't object to that. If I could just add something, there was a question sort of raised as to why we're all here, why the need for the variance. I had concerns that I approached Joe Poftak with in the spring, based on some discussions that we were having with Katie and Mrs. Butler, Tom, and myself. And we went to Joe, we said, listen, we have some concerns here, and Joe's interpretation of the variance was that the fence had to start here, and any additional fence beyond that would require a ruling from this board. So that was how it was explained to me anyways, as to why we're all here. It was it was Joe's interpretation of the language in the original variance hearing.
Okay.
The only concern we have with the proposed work, and it does tie into the way this variance was originally written. The original hearing, and I've been able to go back, Ms. Sutton provided me the audio recording. I have gone back and listened to it to make
That
sure
must have been fun.
I remembered it correctly.
Thrilling.
I didn't listen to the whole thing, but, or the whole night. I listened to certainly our portion. There were two main concerns that we raised with sort of the project in whole. The first was mitigated by the fence, as stated in the variance hearing. It was the loss of privacy in our yard. We discussed the porch that was going to come over, and we also discussed the hedges that were all around here. I certainly understand wanting these hedges to come down. It's an eyesore. We certainly want to see it. But we had a nice private yard. You can see this was the view prior to the hedges coming down.
Yes, yeah.
Right now, standing at this corner, you can see fully into my backyard where we sit and eat on the patio that we constructed. There's been a huge loss of privacy over these past 3 summers, since this hearing, this work started. So I think that's been borne out. You can go there now and stand at the corner and look right into my backyard, which was part of the reason, in addition to the porch, why we asked for this fence. And everyone seemed to think it was a reasonable complaint at the time, or rather a reasonable concern at the time, that the fence would probably take care of that. The second concern we raised just in regards to the current offset of our house to this property line. It's very tight. Our house is roughly 10 feet, it's somewhere 9 to 10 plus feet off that property line. And at the time, Tom and I discussed, and I said, Tom, if at any point, after you put this fence in, if you do clear this yard and want to extend the fence around, I understand, but I'd very much like to be able to work in good faith with you and try to work out some deal where we have a setback, not annexing or taking 325 square feet of his property. I understand this is a somewhat common thing among neighbors. If you could afford me some kind of setback, I'd just very much like to be able to work in good faith with you to make that happen.
You're suggesting that you want the fence to be built not on the property line? Is that what you're saying?
In real simple terms, if we could get a 3-foot step back, just that, I can open my car doors, get my kids in and out.
How does he loses access to that portion of his yard then, doesn't he?
So
He would be in effect adverse possession after a certain period of time, and that property after, 20 years of the fence being there, it could, I mean, I just want to understand that that's what when you're talking about a setback.
I'm not exactly sure of the legal
Yeah.
ramifications
You're
of
looking for the
that.
fence to be built 3 feet back from the line.
Out of consideration and
Yeah,
for
I would
potentially being put
find
in
that an
hardship.
extremely difficult thing to agree to, but if it were,
Okay.
yeah, I understand, I mean, I understand your concerns, but, wow, yeah, okay, okay.
I believe at the original hearing,
Yeah.
when Bill had mentioned that it was, we wouldn't be able to use our driveway. You can't open the car doors because it's tight. So we said at the original hearing, if you do eventually seek to extend this fence, so that's why it was written the way it was written originally.
So the-
If you do seek to extend this fence, we want to be able to work toward a license to use the land, just to open our car doors and step out of the car.
So are you saying that the 54.6 feet starting point of the fence in the original decision was a negotiated point because
It was
it
at the
was?
end of our driveway,
Why was
yes.
why was it set at 54.6 feet?
That is this point at the end of our driveway.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what the right point to talk about this is, but, well, I'll just say, it seems to me that on the one hand, you're arguing, you're suggesting that the removal of the hedge is violating and which understandably is allowing people to peer into your yard, right? The hedge that was on this corner. Is that where the hedge was in this hedge right here?
There was a fence with the hedge as well.
Yeah, it's around here. Okay, so you're saying this is gone, and now people can peer this way. Do I have that correctly? Right, okay. So the extension of the fence would offset, would help to prevent people from peering into your yard. Do I have that correct?
Really,
It would
the
provide you
back,
some-
along, up onto the backyard. So we're concerned about privacy in the backyard. And the fence, the way that the variance is written, it provides privacy for our backyard, because
Yeah.
it begins at the beginning of our backyard and it encircles our backyard. So that condition of the variance addressed our privacy concern,
Okay.
except it was
But-
not met.
That,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, is that, okay, but did you say at the beginning, when you first started, I wrote down loss of privacy without the hedge. So are you saying that if he built the fence as originally designed in this decision, that the privacy issue has gone away?
Privacy issue would be taken care of.
Okay, all right. Fine. So then,
And further, it would allow us to install a short gate such that we can close our yard in and keep our kids safe, because right now, our yard is wide open to the street here as well. So
okay,
It's part of what we.
I'm done for now. Thank you.
Just, the only other thing I'd add is the willingness to come to some sort of plan on the future was, excuse me, I'm sorry, just, I felt we had an agreement to work in good faith on this. Certainly not, I did not expect him to cede this 3 feet over to me. It seemed like, a reasonable request, given the layout, given the hardship that we'd be put in if the fence were restored on the property line.
If I
So-
could just respond for 1 minute.
Sure.
I had 2 options on the table when I was, I was trying to get this variance done.
Again, I was renting in Milton, trying to build in Milton while still having my kids go to school here. The 2 options were either to give up a 3-foot setback and build a fence, or stop at that driveway, which I wouldn't be giving up land, and I could try to get this built and then addressed, but it was always the concern. I just didn't think it was an agreement. I thought it was the ability to get a new fence on that portion of the property, and the ability to not have to maybe go a little over on their own property for their cars, to be able to still park the way that they always had when Mr. Ferrulo hadn't had anyone living there, hadn't been using that property. And, as far as the shrubs and the fence that existed prior to us moving in here, they extended out further than what our fence would anyways. So I don't know how the door is gonna be less affected by a fence that isn't on the property line from when there was bushes and shrubs that went directly to their driveway property line. I mean, directly on it.
Let me understand that. So you had 2 options. You were going to either build the fence that you agreed to, the fence that begins at 54 feet, or or a fence that has a jog in it, and you would lose some property. That was, you actually said them the other way. So option 1 was to build the fence and lose a little bit of property, which you didn't want to do, the full fence, the safe fence that you want to build now, option A, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the...
Let me just
Yeah,
make sure
sorry.
I understand what you're saying. At the time of the variance, there were 2 options. Build a fence, one with a jog in it, but that would effectively you would lose some of your property. You didn't want to do that. Or option B, which also wasn't ideal for you from a safety perspective, but that's ultimately what you chose to do. And that was built into the variance.
Yeah, and honestly, at the time, the yard wasn't cleared out, so we hadn't seen that as a...
Right, yes, the answer is yes. Hard stop, period.
Sorry, yes.
Okay. And then you constructed the building, and now you're back here to go back, and to modify option B to go back to option A.
I mean, I'm not, at this time, I
But
don't...
that's what's going on, right?
I'm not setting it back 3 feet. I'm asking for the board to let me build with a reasonable off the property line, just off the property line, but not giving up.
So what I'm concerned about is you took advantage of the variance and didn't comply with the condition for a couple of years. And now we're back here asking for this to be modified. Just doesn't, I understand you're arguing fairness and the condition, the situation you were in at the time that the variance was granted. That's not of the board's doing. We don't, you were driving the schedule. So I really feel like I mean, one of the underlying issues here is that you've got this pretty large variance. It's pretty extensive. You agreed to build the fence. You did not build the fence. To me, that's the issue here. I still don't know why the fence has not been built. And I think we should hear from the rest of the audience, but I heard what you said, and I wanted to let you know that what I'm hearing is something very different than what I think you want to let us know. We can't go back in time and put ourselves back into 2016 when we were considering the merits of the variance. That's already been granted. And the improvements that are authorized by the variance have been completed. You've gotten the benefit of that. But I don't know that you've complied with the mitigation that was required, which is, I mean, frankly, as a member of the board, I'm concerned about that. And I think the building commissioner is as well, which is why he's saying a lot.
I mean, we met with him a few times, and we've had a discussion, and you know, I did not think coming out of the first hearing, I thought we were gonna build a nice fence. I didn't think I was gonna be asked to give up. That's a lot of property to build.
No one's asking you to give up any land. That's what, I just want to stop you there. No one's asking you that. We're asking you, and that the town has asked you in this variance, and you agreed to build a fence. You didn't build it. That's the issue.
I mean, you could have built the fence to comply with the terms of the variance.
Right.
At 54.6 feet. Then, just to do that, to get this complied with, and then knowing that you would like to extend it, and then enter into negotiation with your neighbor to extend it the remaining 54.6 feet.
That's right.
On the line or whatever, and I don't know that you would have needed to come back to the board for that.
With these facts, I think you do. I'm feeling like, you know, there was a bargain on these facts.
All right.
Ordinarily, a fence we wouldn't get involved with, but on these facts where it was specifically negotiated, I do think this is properly in front of us if we are going to consider amending the variance requirement.
I do too.
But I don't think you can get away from why the underlying requirement wasn't complied with in the first instance, so. But I think we should hear from the rest of the people here, if they want to hear.
If there's anybody. Let's see if we can try to at least finish the evidence of all of this. Is there anybody present here who wishes to be heard with respect to this application to amend the variance?
The back of the property.
Okay, and why don't you, yes, tell us your name, sir.
Hopefully you understand this. So Niall Dowdle, 25
Oh,
Matters.
I'm sorry, you've got
There
an
you
Irish
go.
accent, or whatever.
Niall Dowdle,
Oh, sure.
25 Matters Street, Milton, Mass. I bought the back of the property here of Tom's property.
To the north.
My kids are older.
You're back here.
Yeah, that's my fence you've got, so don't be putting it down.
Oh, okay.
All right. My kids are older. My kid's 13, I think, a little older than Tom's oldest. But I remember when I built my house in Milton 18 years ago, what I wanted to do is put a fence in, and I don't mean it in the wrong way, but to keep them in. Because kids are kids, and they will kick a ball, and kids will run. So I'm just here to support Tom, and if he's going for a fence. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else who'd like to be heard on this application? Okay, there's no such other person that wants to be heard. Do you have anything else you'd want to say?
No, I think it's all been stated, just other than a little bit of consideration that we've been trying to reach out to the Butlers, since the spring. We've invited them to our house to try to eat and hash this thing out and talk about this, and we've received no response other than the letter we got to obey it today.
We've talked, Bill,
We had-
and you asked me if you could build something on my property for your trash, and I said, Bill, I can't let you build your trash shed on my property, and that's kind of what kept this going. You said you wanted 5 feet to build your trash shed, so we have talked, you know what I mean? It's not, there hasn't been a.
Right, would there be, Nick, please.
I'm sorry.
Help me here.
Yeah.
You mentioned the possibility of some type of a license.
Well, they threw that around. I mean, I'm just thinking off Of what, to be able to
So you wouldn't be conveying the land, you wouldn't be conveying the
license or an
fee.
easement or something, I mean,
It,
you'd need ideally a lawyer to help them draft that. kind of a-
well, I think
kind of a
they would, but I mean,
language.
does that make any sense for the 54.6 feet?
It's way beyond what we're here for, John. I'm going to push back, but this is the question the board needs to ask, is why isn't the fence built?
There's two
And if
things.
you want to modify the fence, we'll have a hearing on that.
Right.
Those are the two issues. And whether or not there's a, adverse claim, or whether the parties can, that's a different matter, and I think goes to the second issue.
Well, it does, but
But more importantly, this work was done in 2017. It's 2019. It's supposed to be done 45 days after the hearing.
we'll be here for another year, the way that, but if you break it,
I think you gotta build the fence.
If you segment it this way, then you're going to end up having hearings for the next year on this. And it's, I know, nobody
As
wants.
far as I understand, no one is in disagreement that a 6-foot fence needs to be built on this back property line all the way to within
54.6
54.6
feet.
feet. So I would say step one is build the fence here and here. No, you don't need permission from that. That would comply with the term of the decision. That puts the variance part to bed. It's done. Then the second issue is what to do with the remaining 54.6 feet.
I agree.
Right? Yep. And that's,
Well, with respect to the first issue, I really do think there's an enforcement issue here.
Right.
The building commission has issued a letter. If it's not done within 14 days of March 29th, he's going to go to Southeast Housing Court.
Right, but
When I met with Mr. Prondak, he said that my appeal on this considered as to stop that clock and reset that clock till we could resolve this appeal here.
Fair enough, fair enough.
does it make any sense that rather than perhaps having a 54.6 foot fence in that area, that you put some type of hedging in that area that may be fairly thick and would be difficult for kids to run through, and it wouldn't be as obvious as a fence, but and
I'm sorry, so you're talking about?
well, rather than putting a fence, say 3 feet in,
Yeah.
for that 54 area. Why couldn't you do some type of plantings or
I
something?
suppose you could, but it doesn't speak to Tom's main concern of protecting his kids. He certainly wants to fence all this in, so I mean, again, I'm in support of the fencing. These are my kids we're talking about too here.
you're in support of the extension of the fence, or?
Of certainly extending the fence, just
But you want to be able to use your driveway.
We had concerns that we addressed at this hearing 3 years ago regarding the future use of our driveway. Everyone agreed that they were reasonable and that we should probably get together outside of this hearing and try and come up with a way to mitigate those things. And I felt that the discussion that we had where we said, listen, we'll work in good faith, let us know if this is something we can work out, took care of that 3 years ago, and it hasn't happened.
Well, from my perspective, it would be wonderful if you could do something that's sensible. I'm not sure you're ever going to agree. Mr. Prondak, I know, has tried to bring a resolution here. It hasn't worked. I hate to see you spend all of your time on continued hearings like this, but Mr. Mullen, I have to suggest is right. I mean, the decision is what the decision is, and
I would find it
I
difficult
just
to
wish-
grant an addition, if we're required to change, to grant a variance to the variance, if you will, to change that 54.6 requirement. It's difficult, to my thinking, to very favorably, I mean, I think it makes sense to extend the fence on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like you're out of compliance with the current decision, and you're asking us now to modify it. It seems kind of like the cart's before the horse. I mean, comply with the decision, and then if we need to modify it, we can. It's hard. How do we, when there's an enforcement action pending, how do we say, okay, now you can build the fence longer?
I have to say, I agree with Nicky. I know are we in the deliberation phase of this hearing now?
no, not yet, but we're going to be shortly. My hope would, I'd really love to hear both of you say that you'd go to some type of a mediator who has some skill in real estate issues here, and could perhaps think of a more, we're not land use planners, but could possibly work out something that would be a reasonable modification of both of your positions, and you could just get this over with and not be spending more time.
I think that's quite fair.
Does that make any sense to you, or?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And then you can come back here, if you can't reach an agreement, you can get back here and we'll make a decision, and you'll just go forward with it. I think personally, if I were both of you, I would seek the recommendation of a land use planner here, somebody who's an engineer and a planner, and see if they can come up with something that would be creative and would save you both a lot of time and aggravation. Everyone could be happy, and you could have barbecues together and not.
And that's how things started, and when we left, we're the ones that said, we always fully intended on building a fence. There's chicken wire out there. We didn't build our house to have chicken wire in the yard, and that's what's been there forever. And that we built the house to have a nice property and
So you realize you just told the board that you never intended to comply with the condition of the fence.
No, we
Just said that. You gotta be careful with what you're saying.
No, we fully, when we came into this, when we came in to meet with the Ferrari, and when we planned before the variance or anything, we never intended on leaving their backyard not privacy or whatever, because there was chicken wire. We always intended on putting up a privacy fence. So when we went and met with them after, it wasn't like them saying we want a fence, because when we had planned on putting up a fence to suffice their privacy, we had always planned on that was not a question. Like, it wasn't like you have to, but where it went awry was the 3 feet.
It's the
It's not a matter, it's not a matter for the board, I've said that before.
Yeah.
You gotta build the fence that the board required. You're asking for the board to amend the variance. I'm not prepared to do that, because the principal person with whom you negotiated for the mitigation and get the variance in the first instance is objecting. There's just a fundamental fairness issue here. So I'm strongly urging you to comply with the requirement of the variance, and to the extent that you can reach agreement with respect to the mitigation that was promised in the first variance with the people who asked for it, fine, then we'll consider it. But I don't think it's fair to come in front of the board after having exercised the rights of the variance over the objection of the people with whom you negotiated the mitigation and asked for relief. That's just not something I'm prepared to do.
Nick, do you have anybody that you could recommend who's skilled in this area? That
In
could-
land use, to me, I think no one is, from what I'm hearing, not off the top of my head to answer your question, but I'm hearing that agreement everyone is agreeing that this part of the fence should be built. Build it.
Build it.
Build it. Then we're in compliance, and then negotiate between the two of you, ideally. It's really a matter of where that last 54.6 feet of the fence is going to be located. Is it going to be located on the property line, or 2 or 3 or whatever feet?
Or what it's supposed to be made of.
Or what it's
It's a
supposed to be made
perfect
of.
issue for them to work out, and they can consider that. And the only other issue I would say is that we're on the clock here, because not only is it getting late tonight, John, and we have another hearing, but you got this, the variance says 45 days.
Right.
It's been almost 2 years. I think you've got to say something like this. This has got to get done in the next couple months.
Okay.
I think so, or we're going to have to order the building commissioner to enforce the requirements of the variance.
Right, well, he will if we don't amend it.
Correct.
Okay.
But the appeal.
Well, we haven't gotten to the deliberative phase.
Well,
We can-
here's what we're going to do.
This is between me and Inspector Prondak.
Well, yes, in a sense. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to, and nobody else wants to be heard. Okay, you've all had your say. So what we're going to do is end the evidence portion of this, and we're going to discuss it in open session, and see if we decide this, continue it, do whatever we want. the, I think and Jeffrey may be right, it may be the better way to handle this, is just decide the issue that's in front of us, and if, while we're preparing a decision, if you people are able to get together, or talk it out,
It's what I wanted from the start on this to be
and,
frank, be more than willing to try and
okay,
figure
so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hear from Mr. Muller.
I think we should continue the hearing without a decision.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think we should urge the applicant to comply with the requirements of the variance. And if he can't do that, he can come back and we can consider this on the merits at that point. But I don't recommend that we make a decision up or down and just keep this application pending, further consideration by the board with some note that we'd ask for a report not later than 45 or 60 days from the date of this hearing, something like that. But not make a decision tonight.
Okay, Mr. Gray?
I would agree with that, because if we were to vote, I mean, I think what's before us specifically is whether or not to allow the extension, to modify the decision, to allow the extra 54.6 feet, whatever it is. That's what this legal notice, as far as I understand it,
It
is
is.
about, right? So that's, I would find it difficult, I think, to vote in favor of that if the fence, the main portion of the fence, which was a condition of the original permit, has not yet been built. So it seems to me that if we were to vote negatively on the extension, doesn't that mean they're barred from a certain point of time?
It's amendment or variance rather than variance. It just creates a record that no one really wants.
So I think Mr. Mullen's point of continuing it, at least without coming to a vote up or down, might be the safer
Probably
approach.
fairest for all parties.
If, from what I'm hearing, the parties generally agree that they like the idea of the fence being extended, it's just a matter of placement and material. So I'm fine with Mr. Mullen's suggestion for a continuance on it. But I'm also interested in hearing what you have to say, Mr. Mullen.
Well, I just think it's unfortunate. I wish, this has been teed up for a long time, and I wish that everyone could have gotten together and talked to somebody who's knowledgeable in this area, that maybe could make some suggestions that would work. I tend to think that I agree with what Jeffrey and Nick have said here. And I'm not sure that we should go out 60 days or anything like that. I think we should do a shorter period of time. We've got an enforcement letter from the...
Good.
And if the fence has to be built, leaving the 54.6-foot area unfenced in the first instance, then the applicant is going to need time to hire somebody and get the specs done and get the fence in before the snow starts to fly. So he'd be in compliance with the variance. And I don't want to put you in a position of being held in contempt. But my hope is that if we continue this 30 or 40 days or something, what do we have, Beb?
I have, what would really be ideal is October, oh, no, well, it's a different board.
Oh, it's all right.
I have one case on the
what's the-
23rd.
The 23rd. Which one is that?
October. SELA, and it's just I know, but it's just a shed.
Just a shed.
Just a shed.
Okay.
And he's not in compliance with the setbacks. I don't know. I don't think it'll go on forever.
And that's at 7:30.
Yeah.
And that's October 23rd.
Could be
Nick,
till then, but I'll put that on.
I don't know.
I am available that evening, that's on Wednesday, the 23rd.
Jeffrey, did you check the schedule?
Select board meeting at night. Traffic.
Traffic? What time is your traffic hearing?
Looks like 7. I don't know. Those are always,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're the chairman.
You could schedule it.
Want to,
Schedule it. We'll make it work.
I'm trying to think if you're getting to the hearing.
It's going to be here. It's
Yeah, you're coming from Boston, I assume, unless you're taking the
no
day off.
problem. That's easy.
Okay, do you want to schedule this? Could you do?
Oh, you want to do earlier?
Yeah, earlier, like 7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7's fine.
Could you do 7 o'clock on the 23rd
Of October?
of October?
We could, I'm hoping we can work something out prior.
And I hope you, does that sound good for you,
Whatever
Ms.
you
Rock?
guys suggest.
Okay, we're going to continue this hearing to the 23rd of October, and it's going to be at 7 o'clock. Ms. Sutton will check as to rooms. Do we have this room?
We have the same rules.
Okay, so it'll be right here at 7 o'clock, and it's not going to be a lot of negotiation or anything like that. You can tell us where you are, and if you haven't been able to resolve your differences, then we'll just vote on the application that's before us and let the process take its...
And just to clarify, in the meantime, is the original fence to be built before that?
No,
Okay.
and you can build it. I mean, we can't prevent Mr. Butler from building the fence.
It would be great if it got built, is what
Yeah.
I would say.
So-
The board, I've said that before.
That's up to Mr. Butler, whether he wants to build a fence, but it's whether he varies that fence so it goes all the way to the, and that is in serious doubt, so it seems to me it would be helpful if in that period of time you could talk with somebody that you both have mutual respect for, a third-party mediator. I mean, I know people who do land use planning, but you're going to,
If you have any recommendations.
no, I do, but it's, they would...
No, the board doesn't have any recommendations.
And they would stop doing business with me if I put them in the middle of this. But you need some type of a mediator or a land use planning engineer, or somebody, or a lawyer that everyone has mutual respect for. And I guess I wish you the best of luck. I'm sorry to keep everyone here at
Thank you.
8:55.
We should just formalize that the applicant's okay with continuing the hearing.
yes,
You
yeah.
are the applicant.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so
Get a resolution.
okay, so by the 23rd of October, and the only thing we'd ask you to do is if you do come to some type of satisfactory resolution, that you submit it, let's say 7 days in advance or something like that, and you submit it in writing with a sketch or otherwise a clear description of what you've agreed to do. And that document would be signed by everybody and dated. Okay?
Does it have to run in the Milton time too?
No, you won't have to incur any of that type of expense. But I really urge you to try to find somebody
Send it
who's,
to me if you get
could be
anything.
helpful. Because this is solvable, it really
Who's
is.
Marion the first time?
And that didn't work?
She,
Oh, don't tell us what she did, but she's,
Good luck. What more can you say?
okay, I think we've said enough.
Yes.
Good luck, we'll see you back.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we won't see you on the 23rd at 7:00. Thank you, folks. And we'll report this to Mr. Prondak, so he won't be out there chasing you around. Okay.
Thank you all.
We got another one.
No, I mean this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this hearing is continued until October 23rd it's at 7 PM unless unless the parties come back with a signed settlement agreement. This hearing's adjourned.
I'll take all that since it is continued.
Yes. We all set?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to call to order our third and last hearing of the evening. I hope you brought some dinner with you or some candy or something to keep you alive here. This is the application of Erin and Michael Lynch. It's dated July 12th, 2019. The Lynches reside at 8 Webster Road, and they're proposing to, for a special permit under Section 4 of the bylaw, to build a third-floor addition to their house on Webster Avenue. The property is in a Residence C district. It's a 1928 single-family home that's pre-existing and non-conforming. We have a plot plan of the property, and it shows that the existing building will be located at 11.5 feet from the front property line when 17 is required by the bylaw, and that it would be built 4.7 feet from the left side lot line when 10 feet is required under the bylaw. We have architectural plans in the file by George Lovely. Mr. and Mrs. Lynch, why don't you come up here and accept our apologies for keeping you so late. I hope you don't have youngsters waiting for your return. But
We do. The babysitter just put them to bed, though, so we're in good.
okay, so I've read the advertisement. We're going to have as evidence at the hearing the 7/12/19 application. We have Mr. Prondek's denial letter of 7/3/2019. We have a series of plans showing the proposed construction in multiple sheets by George Lovely. We have we also have a letter dated September 3rd, 2019 from Mrs. McGettrick, talking about the application and at least the reasons that she believes that the application should be allowed. And to her letter is a quitclaim deed when you acquired the property, an assessor's card, and a Maps Online site plan of the neighborhood, showing the entire neighborhood. And we have a plot plan by Joseph Calabro Jr., which is dated April 18th, 2019, together with some plans that are attached. So the rules of the board are the same. Good to have you.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
I apologize for keeping you so late. It's too bad.
No, thank you.
But,
We also wanted to share, the neighbors that we had an opportunity to share our plans with have signed off.
Oh, great.
There's 12 households there.
Thank you.
Need help with the names, I can help you.
Thank you, I will. We have a petition that's signed by a lot of different neighbors, dated September 11th. Michael and Erin Lynch have shared their plans with us to expand their house. We have no objections, and we support them moving forward with the work. It looks like Andrew Tanner of 11 Webster Road, Milton. Jonathan, is it Nass, N-A-S-S, of 231 Edge Hill Road, Milton. Melvin Nass.
His wife Melissa.
Melissa, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Melissa. You're not Melvin. 231 Edge Hill Road in Milton. Somebody who lives at 24 Edge Hill Road. I just don't know who that is. It's hard to read.
That's,
Aaron Helmuth?
no, Jeff Graham.
Oh, Jeff.
Yes.
Jeff and Holly Graham, yeah.
Thank you. And we have Jacob Cullen. Cullen.
Jacob, yep.
Of 7 Webster Road. Aaron M.
Helmuth.
Thank you. 244 Edge Hill Road. Eileen Vanderwook.
Vanderwood, yeah.
Wood. Okay, that looks like a C. 42 Webster Road. Brendan O'Driscoll. 42 Webster Road. Nina Culbertson
Albertson, yes.
of 33 Webster Road in Milton. Charles Urmston, U-R-M-S-T-O-N, 22 Webster Road. Leah, is it something Sweetman or
I don't
Servant
know the right
Man?
pronunciation.
Whatever, of the 28 Webster Road. Denise Heelan of 18 Webster Road. And Lawrence Keegan of 227 Edge Hill Road. So we thank all the neighbors for submitting their assents to this application. Why don't you tell us about the project and why the board should allow your variance application?
We're hoping, we love our neighborhood, we love being in Milton. We have 2 kids in 2nd grade in the Milton schools, and we've just been delighted to live here. Our house is not so super small, but we're outgrowing it quickly like a lot of families. And we took, looking at kind of our options in terms of expanding our house, going up and adding the 3rd floor, increasing the size of that, what seemed like the best option that was the best fit for the neighborhood in terms of the aesthetics and how it fit in with our neighbors. We talked to several architects before we started working with Mr. Lovely, because he was the one most committed to working within the integrity of kind of the current house right now.
Okay. And why don't you just describe a little more detail what you intend to construct?
Yes, above our master would be another, above our bedroom would be another master bedroom and a master bath and a walk-in closet, and another office area.
I hope those aren't the people from the last hearing. But, okay, and
The house needs some updates, so it's old.
the plans that you filed with us, you intend to do the construction within the parameters of those plans. They're substantially accurate. Okay. And the lot that you have presently is 3,741 square feet. So it's a small lot.
Exactly.
Do you know what the gross building area is, the interior portion of your home?
What the interior portion is today?
The house, yeah.
It's about 1,800 square feet today.
Did you say 1,800?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw something close to that.
Give or take a little bit.
And with this addition, what would it bring it up to, do you know?
742 additional.
Yeah, it's adding about 700 square feet of space by adding that 3rd floor.
Okay. Great. Is there anything else you'd like to add in support of this application?
No, we just appreciate your consideration for,
Okay, have you had a chance to read Mrs. McGettrick's letter to
Yes.
the board? And are you in agreement with her letter?
yes,
You support her letter?
yes.
Okay, great. If you don't have anything further to add, let me see if Mr. Mullen has any questions regarding.
All the abutters that signed this, are they direct abutters? Is every direct
Our
abutter on
immediate
the letter?
direct abutters on the letter. yeah.
Larry,
Yes,
yes,
This building sits sideways, right?
correct.
correct.
So these side elevations, what look like side elevations are actually going to be pretty important, right? In terms of how this looks from the street?
Yes.
You comfortable with that? With
Yeah.
these elevations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we understand the parameters of a small lot, and I
Yeah.
think, our house is unique the way it sits on a lot. I kind of like it. It gives character and charm.
Yeah, no, it's a
And
cute house,
it's-
yeah.
And I think, working with George Lovely, he was able to we'd seen some other designs earlier that looked like just a box plopped on top of the house. We weren't comfortable with that.
Look good.
But this, I think the design that he came up with makes it look and feel like it fits with the frame of the original house.
Are there houses in Milton that have done this? I've never seen this.
I couldn't speak specifically to houses in Milton. I think,
This is like a Dutch colonial, right?
yes.
And you're going to be eliminating that mansard roof, right? Or not mansard, but the roof that really defines that architectural style?
We're trying to maintain some.
He has it, it's key like bramble, no?
It's going to stay there, but it'll
We're
be...
trying to build I should have brought George, he's better able to describe it, but we're trying to, again, keep the integrity so it doesn't,
Just trying to visualize it. I say the elevation it's, I mean,
Under the 35 feet, yeah, he's got the peak and
yeah.
right down.
Yeah. But nevertheless, none of these improvements create any more nonconformities than there already are, the property's already subject to. That's my understanding. In other words, this is being built within the height limits of the town, not just 2.5-story requirement, right? Is that right?
yes, It's still with under the 35.
Yeah, and the third floor will be fully accessible? I mean, there's no knee walls in there?
Sorry, what's in
Stand up, can you
No,
stand up?
Yes, yes.
Today, you can stand up, yes.
Yes.
In your second floor?
Today, if you walked up to our attic, you could stand up and
Oh,
most
in
of
your
it-
attic?
Yes, so this is,
The third floor is going to be in the
There's a
attic?
staircase that goes up there
Yeah.
now.
Is there
yes.
going to be any attic space at all in this improvement, or you're getting rid of all of it?
we're getting rid of the attic. There'll be storage space, but it won't be attic space. It'll be finished space if that.
Will there be any unfinished space on the third floor?
No, it'd be all like, say, we'll have closets.
It's all,
like
all being built
storage.
out. I guess
Yeah.
it's-
You're eliminating your attic? Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Gray?
The only question I have was just relative to what Mr. Mullins said, was that if I'm reading the legal notice correctly, it says the bylaws, this is maybe not a question, but it says the bylaw allows 2.5 stories, but they're asking for 3.5. So isn't it increasing the nonconformity with respect to the height, or am I
Is that
missing?
including the basement and
Oh,
that?
bless you.
I don't know, I'm just,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't,
just reading what this. I mean, one of the, if to grant the special permit, we're supposed to rule that it's not substantially increasing the detrimental or injurious effect of the building around the use in the neighborhood. I just want to make sure that we're.
Yeah, I think he's saying the bylaw permits valid non-conforming structures to be altered
Yeah.
and extended.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I think that's something fair for the board to think about, so.
Okay. No, I don't have any further questions. I mean, just to observe that it's a very tiny lot, and I guess I just want to confirm my understanding is correct, that the addition that you're building will be the same, it's not encroaching any further than the
Same
existing
footprint,
building.
yeah.
So like,
Straight up.
so when this is, okay, so that answers the
and
question.
it's consistent with the height of other houses immediately around.
Well, that's a
us.
good point to hear. Yeah,
The houses are bigger.
that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, that's all for me.
When I was looking at this application, it's such a small house, and trying to raise a family in a place that's this small is difficult at best. And I thought that the architect was creative in what he was trying to do in limiting the physical features of the house, and trying to architecturally make it look pleasing to the eye. And when I saw something in one of the papers about the neighborhood, and I wasn't really familiar with the neighborhood, I actually drove around the neighborhood. I'm glad I wasn't reported to the police. But when I did take a look at some of the houses in the neighborhood, it was there's some beautiful, big houses in this neighborhood.
Okay.
And when I noted that Miss Denise Healing supports your application for variance. She's the immediate abutter. I don't know whether she's here tonight or not, but she's got a swimming pool. It's bigger than your house.
She does.
The garage
I was wondering I was looking at the, whose pool.
garage.
And she's got this big house next to the swimming pool. So I was wondering, it just looked, I could see why you needed the additional space, and there was kind of a, I don't know, it was kind of ironic that at the size of the houses that are in this neighborhood, and they're beautifully done, and they're older houses, then you have this one little dinky, non-conforming 3,000 square foot lot. It struck me, but, so I don't have any further questions other than making that comment. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you for your time.
Okay, let me see, is there anybody present who wants to be heard regarding this application? Has any questions regarding the application? Yes, ma'am. Why don't you come on up here and grab a microphone? And welcome to the Board of Appeals, and
So my name is Marie Brown.
just hold on. I have to apologize to you for keeping you here at 9:12 in the evening, so thank you for waiting. Yes, your name is Denise Brown?
No, Marie.
Marie Brown, okay, great. Where do you
I live
live?
on Webster Road too, and you didn't make it to my house to talk to me. But I was very happy with what I heard today. My concern with your neighbors going to be, supporting you, and it sounds like they are. So I'm very happy for you. We were in this position a few years back of needing an addition because of a big family and not getting it, so I remember the pain. And so I just want to make sure that what you were proposing was accepted by your neighbors, and it sounds like it is, so.
Apologies for not being more neighborly and getting down to you.
That's okay.
I think, the bandwidth of time of just getting to everybody while they're home.
That's okay.
We ran out of bandwidth, but we appreciate your support, and I think, Webster Road's a great place to live, so we're all
agree.
lucky to live there.
Okay.
Ms. Brown, what was the number of your house?
80.
80.
It's the last house on the road.
Thank you for coming tonight and staying so long. We appreciate it. Okay, and let me just ask, for the sake of the record, is there anybody else out there who wants to speak in support of the application? And there is no such person. You want to stay and listen to our learned decision on this case? Okay. Then be safe. Thank you very much. Is there anybody here who has questions of the applicants? There is none. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the variance application? And there is no such person. We're going to end the evidence unless you've got something further to say, and vote on the application here and now. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. I think it's a creative solution to getting more space. I don't know really what else you'd be able to do that would meet the needs that you require for your house, given the size of the lot and given the, I've lost my train of thought, but
I confused you with with the comments about the swimming pool.
That must have been it. I did notice the swimming pool, and I was wondering who it was.
We thought it belonged to your house.
Yeah. I would just say, especially in light of the fact that you were able to get so much of the support from your surrounding neighbors, my only concern was whether the neighbors would have felt that now the house would be towering over but we didn't hear that. There was no evidence of that at all in the hearing, and so I would tend to support the application.
Okay, Mr. Jeffrey Mullen.
I agree with a finding from the board that the project is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I support it as well.
Okay, I thought the application was very well presented. I particularly appreciated Mrs. McGettrick's letter. I thought it was very helpful in summarizing the whole application, and I thought that with our wonderful satellites these days and doing satellite searches in the neighborhood, as I usually do, it graphically demonstrated that these improvements not only would be a benefit to the house, they'd be a benefit to the neighborhood, and none of the houses in this neighborhood are going to be threatened by putting your addition onto this property. And I'm kind of thrilled also to see the tremendous amount of support that you received regarding this application. Thank you for your time and effort in getting all of these signatures. I know it's a pain in the neck, and I was particularly pleased to see Denise Heelin supporting your application, where she has this magnificent two properties right next door, and I hope she invites you to cookouts and use her pool. But I think it's a great addition. I agree with Mr. Mullen that it's certainly not detrimental to the neighborhood, but it's a significant improvement, and I'd say congratulations.
Thank you.
On your variance. If you're going to talk with Marion Moore, that's fine, but you just remember what I said. We're going to do this 7-10 days, something like that. Okay. Then you've got your 20-day appeal period.
We'll vote in a minute. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, we will vote before you can.
Don't worry.
If you've got your builder, let your builder know what's happening. He can coordinate
get that
things.
piece going.
Particularly so you're not in middle of December or a snowstorm or something like that. All in favor of voting in favor of this variance with the usual conditions?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And,
good luck.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And good luck. Yes.
Thank you. You too. All done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. This hearing's adjourned.
Have a nice evening.